Hello students, a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to my channel. This is a very important class on Know Your Text series part 6, and today we will talk about summaries of most important European classics. But before starting, I want to give you a brief introduction about myself. Good evening Mukesh, welcome. My name is Brishti Mukherjee. I have qualified NTA UGC NET exam in English literature 3 times and have also qualified West Bengal SET examination. I have 2 years of teaching experience. Moreover, I have also topped in NPTEL online course from IIT Madras 3 times. So that is all about myself. This is the link of my Telegram channel. So those of you who have not joined yet, please join to get notification of all important classes. And also please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel so that many more new learners can join. And these are the timings of the classes: Monday to Friday at 8:30 p.m, Saturday, Sunday off. So don't forget to join me live. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get notifications. ओके सो जो भी स्टूडेंट्स वीडियो को देख रहे हो एक बार प्लीज लाइक एंड शेयर कर देना ताकि और भी स्टूडेंट ज्वाइन कर सके. So yes, so today we will talk about summaries of most important European classics, and today is the 6th part of the video. So let's start. This is your first work of today's class, Master and Margarita, published in 1967. Master and Margarita, published in 1967. Now, what is this work all about? Obviously, it's a Russian work written by Mikhail Bulgakov, Master and Margarita. And basically, it was a satirical novel on Soviet Union. Okay, so main purpose is satire. It was first published in Moscow magazine. These are all basic information related to the novel. And this is also important because Salman Rushdie once said that this novel was his inspiration. So Salman Rushdie said that he was greatly inspired by Master and Margarita while writing satanic verses. So this is very important. The most notorious novel of Salman Rushdie, for writing the novel, he also received fatwa. Okay, and very much controversial regarding its theme. So that particular novel, Satanic Verses, was greatly inspired by Master and Margarita, published in Moscow magazine. Good evening, Jyoti. Yes, I am fine. How are you? And so iska plot kya hai? Frame narrative with double plots, divided into 2 plots and frame narrative. Now, we will briefly discuss the plot. There are 2 settings of the novel: 1930s Moscow and Jerusalem. 2 important settings, Moscow and Jerusalem. Okay. Now, this novel actually opens with Satan visiting Moscow and denying the existence of Jesus. That is why Salman Rushdie was inspired to write Satanic Verses, because this novel starts with Satan visiting Moscow and denying the existence of Jesus. Okay, so this is important. Now, another two characters are there. Berlioz and Uland. They are in a conflict. Good evening, Rajkishore. Welcome. So Berlioz and Uland, they are in a conflict, and there is a prophecy that Berlioz will die this evening, though he denies it. Okay, so this kind of absurd things are happening here. Satan is visiting Moscow and he meets with 2 other characters, Berlioz and Uland. They are in a great conflict, and Berlioz received a prophecy that he would die that evening, though he denied to accept it. And Margarita is his mistress. His means mistress of Berlioz. Okay, Margarita is his mistress, and another character appears, Azazello. Azazello gives her a magical skin ointment and invites her to attend Devil's Midnight to become a witch. Okay, so Master and Margarita, here Master refers to this particular man named Berlioz, and Azazello is another character who gives her some kind of magical ointment, applying which she can become a witch. So Azazello invites her to become a witch, and finally they all become spirits. And Uland tells the Master to finish his novel about Pontius Pilate. So Uland, Berlioz himself is writing a novel. So it is actually novel within a novel और जिसको हम कहते हैं मेटाफिक्शन. Good evening, Cherry. There are some element of metafiction also in this particular text. So, Berlioz is actually writing a novel about Pontius Pilate. So, Ulan tells the master to finish this particular novel. And finally, Moscow is free from the grasp of Satan and also Pontius Pilate. So, इस टाइप का एक प्लॉट है, दो very absurd. Still interesting. Okay, so this kind of plot is Master and Margarita, and Salman Rushdie got inspired from that kind of novel. Okay, so this is Master and Margarita, written by Mikhail Bulgakov, the famous Russian writer. Okay, moving on to next novel, that is The Tin Drum. Very famous novel and beautifully written. The Tin Drum, published in 1959, and it is a novel written by a German writer, Gunter Grass. Yes, very famous writer, Gunter Grass. Tin Drum. So टीन ड्राम का प्रोटैगनिस्ट का नाम आप सबने सुना है, ये क्वेश्चन भी आया था, ऑस्कर मैट्सरेट. बहुत पहले की नेट में आया था. ऑस्कर मैट्सरेट इज द प्रोटैगनिस्ट ऑफ व्हिच नॉवेल? सो दैट इज टीन ड्राम. He is the protagonist who narrates his story while confined into a mental hospital. So setting is in asylum. एंड नेट में इस टाइप का क्वेश्चन आते हैं सेटिंग के साथ नॉवेल को मैच करना, विच बिकम्स वेरी कॉमन इन रिसेंट एग्जाम पेपर्स. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन ऑफन कम दैट which of the novel is set in asylum. So that is The Tin Drum, where Oscar Matzeret, the narrator, is himself living in an asylum and he is narrating his own story. Okay, so first person narration obviously, and it is a fictional autobiography of Gunter Grass. Okay, now the title is very interesting, The Tin Drum, which is actually part of a proverb, to beat in a tin drum. To beat in a tin drum. Okay, so that is a proverb, to beat in a tin drum, and from that proverb the title is actually taken. Okay, to beat in a tin drum. Okay, now what is the plot? So and to what does that particular proverb mean? To beat in a tin drum. It means to create disturbance in order to draw attention for a particular cause. ठीक है, तो ये मतलब इरिटेट करने के लिए नहीं है, जस्ट टू ड्रॉ योर अटेंशन फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर cause. When a drum is beaten, that is actually the meaning of the proverb, to beat in a drum. Okay, so to create disturbance in order to draw attention for a particular cause. तो यहाँ से टाइटल लिया गया है. अब इसका प्लॉट क्या है? ऑस्कर मैट्सरेट जो कि नॉवेल का प्रोटैगनिस्ट है, he receives a toy tin drum from his mother as a 3-year-old boy. Okay, in another British play we have got a character who received a toy tin drum as a birthday present. Now what is that play? That play is The Birthday Party by Harold Pinter, right, where Stanley is presented a toy drum as his birthday present. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर भी वही बात है कि as a birthday gift, the 3-year-old boy Oscar Matzeret, he has received a toy tin drum from his mother. Now finally he is very much obsessed with that drum and decides not to grow up. ठीक है, तो ये एक ऑब्सेशन, एक साइकोलॉजिकल प्रॉब्लम उसके अंदर आ गया था रिलेटेड टू दैट ड्रम. ही इज सो मच ऑब्सेस्ड दैट ही ऑलवेज वांट्स टू बिकम अ चाइल्ड सो दैट ही कैन ऑलवेज प्ले विद दैट टिन ड्रम, एंड ही नेवर वांट्स टू ग्रो अप. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम is there in Oscar Matzeret, who refuses to grow up, a protagonist who refuses to grow up. Now वो पूरे दिन क्या करते थे उस ड्रम को लेकर? Oscar has high pitched shrill singing voice that has the power to break glasses. So his voice is very rough and very shrill, which breaks the glasses. तो वो क्या करते थे? वो हमेशा इस ड्रम को बीट करते थे, and he always sings, and with his singing he breaks the glasses actually. So that kind of powerful voice he has. Now he believes that he has an intellectual capacity inborn in him, so there is no need to go to school. तो एक साइकोलॉजिकल प्रॉब्लम उसके अंदर था, ठीक है, डिस्टॉर्टेड पर्सनालिटी में से, दैट उसके अंदर ये एक ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस था दैट ही हैज an inborn talent, so he need not to go to school anymore because he already has that kind of talent. Okay, now what happens that he meets two famous literary persona. One is Johann Wolfgang von Goethe and another is Rasputin. तो ये क्वेश्चन में आ सकता है कि इन विच जर्मन नॉवेल गॉथ इज मेंशन्ड एज अ कैरेक्टर, सो दैट इज इन टिन ड्रम. Okay, now he meets Goth and Rasputin, and later Oscar falls in love with Maria. Okay, Maria, another character. Oscar falls in love with her, but his father Alfred marries her thinking that he has impregnated her, which is not. तो एक बहुत ही प्रॉब्लमेटिक सिचुएशन क्रिएट होता है. Alfred marries his own daughter thinking that he has impregnated her, which is not true. Okay, and later the man becomes the leader of a Oscar becomes the leader of a band जिसका नाम था Dusters, and helps them to break the government offices. तो उन्होंने क्या किया, वो एक बैंड का लीडर बन गया. Duster is the name of that band, and as I have already told you that Oscar had a shrill voice, and through his voice he could break the glasses. So, with the help of that band, he always sings and he breaks the glass of the government offices. So, that was his job. And finally, his father dies and he is arrested for doing such nuisance throughout the country. Oscar finally becomes a tombstone engraver. तो एक बैंड सिंगर से उसके जॉब ट्रांसफर होता है टू ए टूमस्टोन एनग्रेवर, एंड with his friend later he starts another club, जिस क्लब का नाम था ऑनियन पिलर. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग नेम, राइट? ऑनियन पिलर इज द नेम ऑफ द क्लब जिसका वो मेंबर थे. ठीक है, ऑनियन पिलर. विथ हिज फ्रेंड ही स्टार्ट्स अनदर क्लब विच इज नेम्ड एज ऑनियन पिलर. Okay, later what happens that Oscar gets another opportunity to beat drums publicly and earn money. So he is obsessed with that drum, and drum beating finally becomes his own occupation. So he gets that opportunity to beat drums publicly and earn money. Later he finds the ring finger of a nurse named Sister Dorothy. A nurse named Sister Dorothy. He finds the ring finger of that nurse, and he comes to know that Hitler, another character who murders her. So a nurse is murdered, and Oscar comes to know that, and he also realizes that Hitler murders her, but Oscar takes the blame on himself to save his friend Hitler. Okay, so that is how the novel ends, where Oscar himself is punished for a murder which he has not committed actually. So that is the story of the Tin Drum, written by Gunter Grass. Totally talking about a distorted personality of Oscar and how he is obsessed with that drum, and how that drum finally takes away his life. You may interpret in that way also. Okay, so that is about the Tin Drum. Moving on to next novel, Miss Julie. Miss Julie, very important work. Miss Julie, published in 1888. Now, Miss Julie, this is actually not a novel. This is actually a play written by August Strindberg. Okay, remember that it is a play written by August Strindberg. And setting क्या है? Setting on a midsummer eve and the following morning on the feast day of Saint John Baptist. So this is the setting. Midsummer Eve, and उसके अगले दिन क्या था? Feast of Saint John Baptist. Both are holy days. So this is actually the setting. So these are some of the factual information. The play opens with Jean working in the kitchen and talks about Miss Julie's peculiar behavior. So Miss Julie play का main character है, as you all understand. तो मिस जूली के बारे में सबसे पहले हमें पता चलता है थ्रू द आईज ऑफ जीन, हु इज वर्किंग इन द किचन एंड इज टॉकिंग अबाउट मिस जूलीज peculiar behavior. First time heard this novel? Okay. So, talk about Miss Julie's peculiar behavior. Now, Julie is like a mad girl who is staying with the servants after the humiliations of his family due to the breaking of our engagement. तो जूली के बारे में हमें क्या पता चलता है? मिस जूली, who is a mad girl, who is almost a mad girl. Why mad? Because she has a very traumatic life, traumatic childhood, because she is staying with the servants. Why? As his family, her family, due to the breaking of our engagement. Okay, so her engagement is already broken, and that is how her family is humiliated. So after that humiliation, she is staying with the servants, and she has almost become mad. Okay, insane. Now Miss Julie invites Jean on the day of the festival for dancing. ठीक है, वही फेस्टिवल जो हमने अभी बताया है, सेंट जॉन बैप्टिस्ट का फीस्ट के दिन. So she invites Jean on the day of the festival for dancing, and Jean is already engaged to the servant Christine and flirts with him. Okay, so it happens later. What happens that he explains to Miss Julie about God and forgiveness. ठीक है, जो सर्वेंट है वो उनको बताते हैं अबाउट गॉड एंड फॉरगिवनेस एंड ऑल दो स्पिरिचुअल थिंग्स. हर फादर द काउंट फाइनली रिटर्न्स, and Miss Julie realizes that she has no individuality, she has no identity, everything is taught by her parents. Okay, Miss Julie realizes that she has no individuality, everything is destroyed because she is humiliated by the patriarchal society, and everything is taught by her parents. तो उसका अपना कुछ भी नहीं है, जो कुछ उनको सिखाया गया है वो वही चीज कर रहे हैं. And finally Julie is very much depressed because she is suffering from loss of identity, from loss of individuality, and the play ends with Julie walking with a razor mainly to commit suicide. तो इससे end होता है कि Julie is trying to commit suicide. Okay, so this is a play. This is not a novel. This is a play, Miss Julie, written by August Strindberg. Also a play based on psychological trauma. You can also interpret it from feminist point of view, because in patriarchal society, women oftentimes lose their identity, lose their individuality, and also lose their proper existence as a separate human being, right? They are considered as man's other. So Miss Julie is also suffering from that problem, that oppression, and she cannot bear that. That is why she decides to commit suicide at the end. And ये एक hint है, ठीक है, play end होता है एक hint के साथ कि Julie is walking with a razor, which indicates that she is going to commit suicide. So this is how Miss Julie ends, a very tragic play and also controversial. Okay, moving on to next work, that is Zorba the Greek. ये भी आपके लिए unfamiliar लगेगा शायद. Zorba the Greek, because it is actually a Greek novel written by Nikos Kazantzakis. Nikos Kazantzakis, Zorba the Greek, published in 1946. Okay, so Greek novel written by Nikos Kazantzakis. Name बहुत ही difficult है, spelling भी difficult है because Greek name है, ठीक है. तो इसका plot क्या है? Zorba the Greek. Zorba the Greek, the narrator is a young bookish intellectual, ठीक है, एक young man, and Zorba जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं, Zorba is a man of 60, जिसका पूरा नाम है Alexis Zorba. तो दोनों कैरेक्टर की बात हो रही है, and it also talks about generation gap. That one character who is the narrator is a very young man and bookish intellectual. Okay, so a book lover greatly. And on the other hand, there is Zorba, Alexis Zorba, who is a man of 60. ठीक है, he is an old man. अब इन दोनों का मुलाकात कैसे होता है? The narrator is waiting for a boat to go to Crete. Okay, and ठीक है, waiting for a boat to go to Crete, and he meets with Alexis Zorba during the journey. Okay, तो Zorba के साथ कैसे मुलाकात होता है? He is meeting with Alexis Zorba during the journey. Okay, now what happens that Zorba and this narrator, both of them stay in an inn of Madame Hortense. Madame Hortense, a French woman in Crete. तो फाइनली दोनों ही क्रीट में जा रहे हैं, ठीक है. एंड क्रीट में जाने के बाद क्या होता है? दे स्टे इन एन इन ऑफ मैडम हॉर्टेंस, अ फ्रेंच वुमन इन क्रीट. ओके, रशियन राइटर है, रशियन राइटर निकोस काजानज़ाकिस अगर आप बात कर रहे हो चेरी, वो रशियन राइटर नहीं है, ही इज अ ग्रीक राइटर. एंड इससे पहले मैंने जो बताया, मास्टर एंड मार्गारिटा एंड मिस जूली, सॉरी मास्टर एंड मार्गारिटा एंड मिस जूली, तो उन दोनों में से दोनों ही रशियन राइटर ने लिखा है, ऑगस्ट स्ट्रिनबर्ग एंड Mikhail Bulgakov. But Nikos Kazantzakis is not a Russian writer, he is a Greek writer, and this novel is also a Greek novel. ओके हाँ, ये थोड़ा सा अलग सा नाम है, आई होप आपने नहीं सुना होगा, बट वेरी फेमस नॉवल। ओके, एंड निकोस काजांजाकिस का नाम शायद एक बार क्वेश्चन में आया था, कोई एक बार नेट एग्जाम में शायद आया था, मुझे एग्जैक्टली याद नहीं हो रहा, बट आप पीवाईक्यूज में चेक करना, कोई ना कोई क्वेश्चन आया था इससे। ठीक है, ओके, सो कमिंग बैक टू द प्लॉट, तो एलेक्सिस जोरबा, both of them met during their journey, and finally they stay in an inn of Madame Hortense, a French woman in Crete. Now what happens that during they are staying, Zorba falls in love with her. Zorba, the old man, he falls in love with that French woman. Okay, now the narrator and Zorba together spend time, they become friends, they talk with the villagers also, villagers of Crete, and the narrator greatly admired Zorba's simplicity. Good evening, Shravani. Welcome. Zorba's simplicity. Zorba is an old man. Narrator is a young man. दोनों के generation gap है, but still narrator admired Zorba, and the narrator finally falls in love with a widow who rejects to marry Pavli. ओके, तो ये होता है एक और स्टोरी। जोरबा फॉल्स इन लव विद मैडम हॉटिंस एंड द नरेटर फॉल्स इन लव विद अ विडो हु रिजेक्ट्स टू मैरी पावली। Gradually, the narrator goes under conflict between material and spiritual. कौन सा वर्क है श्रावणी? वी आर डिस्कसिंग जोरबा द ग्रीक। जोरबा द ग्रीक, दिस इज अ नॉवल बाय निकोस काजांत्साकिस। निकोस काजांत्साकिस, हम इसी वर्क को इसी वर्क का समरी हम अभी डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। ठीक है, निकोस काजांत्साकिस। Okay, so gradually he is under conflict between material and spiritual, almost same conflict which you have seen in Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. तो यहाँ पर भी उनके अंदर ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आ रहे हैं, दो ही इज अ यंग मैन, ही फेसेस दैट काइंड ऑफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट एंड ही ग्रोज डिसएंचेंटेड विथ लिटरेचर, ठीक है, डिसइल्यूशन्ड विथ लिटरेचर, एंड ही फोर्सेस जोरबा टू बिल्ड अ केबल रेलवे। ठीक है, तो ये एक स्टोरी होता है कि मटेरियल एंड स्पिरिचुअल के बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट उनके अंदर चल रहा है। सो जस्ट टू गेट रीड ऑफ दैट, he tries to possess something important, he tries to be an important man in terms of materialistic success. ओके, तो वो जोरबा को कह रहे हैं टू बिल्ड अ केबल रेलवे। ओके, तो केबल रेलवे वो बताने की बात कर रहे हैं, एंड जोरबा एग्रीज एंड ही गोज टू बाय सम मटेरियल। तो केबल रेलवे मींस यू कैन से दैट इट इज वेरी सिमिलर टू रोपवे। ठीक है, जो हमने रोपवे देखा, मतलब रोपवे में सिर्फ रोप नहीं, जो मतलब लंबे लंबे केबल होते हैं जिसके ऊपर से हम जाते हैं, तो उसी टाइप का एक चीज है केबल रेलवे। ओके, सो केबल रेलवे इट इज एक्चुअली यूज्ड in hilly areas or difficult areas in that sense. ठीक है, तो similar to ropeway, you can compare it with that. Okay, so good evening, Akash, welcome. So Zorba goes to buy some material to build that cable railway, and finally Zorba betrays the narrator. He writes a letter to the narrator that he wants to stay with a young woman in Irakilo. He doesn't want to go back. ठीक है, तो इस टाइप का स्टोरी है कि नरेटर वेट कर रहे हैं कब जोरबा वापस आएगा, बट द मैन इज राइटिंग अ लेटर टू द नरेटर सेइंग दैट आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू रिटर्न, आई जस्ट लव टू स्टे हियर विथ अ यंग वुमन. So finally the narrator marries Hortense, okay, and after that marriage Zorba returns and together they go to a monastery to take permission for construction. तो बाद में जोरबा वापस भी आए थे, एंड टू बिल्ड दैट केबल रेलवे दे डिसाइड टू टेक परमिशन फॉर कंस्ट्रक्शन. Okay, now in that monastery there are hypocrite monks, so it is also a satire against monastery, and so that as a result of that the railway plan ends in disaster, and finally Zorba goes to Siberia and he dies. तो जोरबा के डेथ से नॉवेल एंड होता है. अ वेरी हार्ड वर्किंग मैन हु फाइनली डाइज एट द एंड ऑफ द नॉवेल, एंड द प्लान ऑफ बिल्डिंग अ केबल रेलवे ऑल्सो एंड्स इन डिजास्टर. Okay, so this is about Zorba the Greek. Moving on to next work and the last work of today's class, that is La Miserable, published in 1862. La Miserable. Okay, now this is a very important novel written by Victor Hugo. I hope you have heard this name, Victor Hugo. So Victor Hugo has written this novel, La Miserable. ओके, तो इसका प्लॉट क्या है? जी वैल्जीन इज द मेन कैरेक्टर हु इज अ पीजेंट, ही इज द प्रोटैगनिस्ट। तो अब इसका क्या स्टोरी है? इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ कॉन्विक्ट नैरेटिव, यू कैन से। So Jean Valjean, who is a peasant who later becomes a prisoner, he is forced to steal bread to feed his family. So he becomes a thief, but out of compulsion, just to get rid of starvation, just to feed his family, he is forced to steal bread, and as a result of that, he is sent to prison. ठीक है, तो उसके बाद जब उसका रिलीज होता है, व्हेन ही इज रिलीज्ड एंड कम्स एट डिग्ने, डिग्ने इज द नेम ऑफ अ प्लेस, नोबडी इज विलिंग टू गिव हिम शेल्टर बिकॉज he was once a prisoner. Though everyone knows that he is an honest man who just steals to feed his family, there is no other purpose for stealing. Okay, he just only to get away of starvation, get rid of starvation. Still, people are not willing to give him shelter because he has that kind of stamp, a prisoner. ठीक है, इसलिए उनको कोई हेल्प नहीं कर रहा था. He is released and he comes his hometown Digne, but nobody is willing to give him any shelter. So finally, the bishop gives him shelter and treats him sympathetically, जिसका नाम था Mr. Myriel or Myriel. Mr. Myriel, the bishop, treats him sympathetically. Only this particular man. Now, Valjean opens a manufacturing company with the name Madeleine. ठीक है, तो उनको तो मतलब इस प्रेजेंट नाम से तो उसके पास कोई नहीं आएगा, ठीक है, तो वो अपने लाइफ को नए तरीके से शुरू करना चाहते थे, इसलिए उन्होंने एक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी खोला विद द नेम मैडलिन. सो ही हैज टेकन दैट pseudonym. Okay, now in that particular company, a young woman comes to work, जिसका नाम था Fantine, who comes to work at Madeleine's factory. Now, why she has come? She also has a traumatic past because she has an illegitimate child. So she is fired from his job. Okay, so when she comes in Madeleine's factory also, this story is revealed that she has an illegitimate child, so she is again fired from this job also, only because she has a disturbing past. ठीक है, तो उनको जॉब तो मिला बट बाद में जॉब चला भी गया बिकॉज शी हैज एन इलेजिटिमेट चाइल्ड. Now again, out of to get rid of starvation, she starts prostitution, but she was arrested later. Okay, later Fantine comes to know his true Fantine comes to know his true identity. His here means Jean Valjean. Valjean तो Madeleine के नाम से काम कर रहे थे, बट बाद में Fantine को ये पता चला कि Valjean is actually Madeleine is actually Valjean, who is a convict. Now, after listening to that truth, she is very much shocked and she dies. Okay, so that is the story of La Miserable. And basically, this story is talking about the very dark picture of society where people have to choose wrong paths just to get food. Okay, or just to get their sustenance. तो इसलिए उनको रॉन्ग पाथ चूज करना पड़ा. एंड दिस नॉवेल रिमाइंड्स मी द फेमस थिंग टोल्ड बाय रास्टिग्नैक in Crime and Punishment. Rastignac ने यही कहा था कि if a person is doing a crime out of any compulsion, then he should not be considered as guilty. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर भी वही थीम विक्टर हुगो एस्टैब्लिश करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि इफ अ पर्सन इज डूइंग सम काइंड ऑफ रॉन्ग थिंग आउट ऑफ कंपल्शन, then the blame should go on the society, not on that person, because society forces him to do that particular job. And here also you can see that Fantine is going towards the job of prostitution only because society refuses to give her a respectable job. So it is the responsibility of society, okay, not the people. And the condition of society, the corruption of society, the misconception in society actually pushes some of the people to do some wrong deeds, even without their satisfaction, without their consent. So that story is actually, or that theme is actually highlighted by Victor Hugo in this novel La Miserable. Okay, so that is और उसके बाद क्या होता है? She dies and Jean avoids every negative situation as far as possible and helps other victims of society. So Fantine dies, but Jane is trying to revive his own life. He is trying to be an honest man. So वो क्या कर रहे? He is avoiding all negative situation and he decides to help other victims of society who are facing that kind of trouble. And finally, he is reunited with his adopted daughter and dies peacefully. तो दोनों ही कैरेक्टर at the end दोनों का ही डेथ हो जाते हैं, जहाँ वेल्जीन एंड फैंटी. Okay. So that is about this novel, La Miserable. Okay, so that is the end of today's class. Thank you all for joining. This is the link of my Telegram channel. Those of you who have not joined yet, please join to get notification of all important classes. And also, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel so that many more new learners can join. So tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. We will meet again with another interesting topic. So tomorrow we will talk about Harold Pinter and his plays. Okay, we have already discussed Samuel Beckett and tomorrow we will talk about Harold Pinter. So don't forget to join me live. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get notifications. Okay, so thank you all. Bye bye everyone. See you all tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.